I got released from the hospital early and my husband asked, "How did you find our new address?" I stood on the porch holding my discharge papers, staring at Nathan who looked like he'd seen a ghost. "What do you mean, new address? This is our house. I've lived here for 6 years." My overnight bag slipped from my shoulder and hit the concrete with a dull thud. Nathan stepped back into the doorway, blocking my view inside. "Lily, you shouldn't be here. The hospital said you wouldn't be released for at least another 2 weeks." His voice was strange, tight, like he was forcing himself to stay calm. "They cleared me early. Good behavior, stable vitals, passed all the psych evaluations." I picked up my bag and tried to step forward. "Can I come inside? I've been gone for 3 months and I just want to sleep in my own bed." A woman appeared behind Nathan, blonde, maybe 35, wearing yoga pants and one of my favorite cardigans, the cream-colored one with the pearl buttons I'd bought last spring. She put her hand on Nathan's shoulder in a way that made my stomach drop. "Nathan, who is this?" Her voice was sweet, concerned, like she was asking about a lost delivery driver. I felt my mouth go dry. "Who the hell is that? And why is she wearing my clothes?" Nathan's face went pale. "Lily, I can explain. This is Brooke. We got married 2 months ago." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You got married? I've been in the hospital for 3 months and you got married?" My voice came out too loud, almost a shout. Brooke's eyes widened. "Nathan, you said your ex-wife was institutionalized long-term. You said she was dangerous and the doctors didn't think she'd ever be stable enough for release." She pulled the cardigan tighter around herself. "You told me she tried to kill you." "I never tried to kill anyone," I was shouting now. "I had a breakdown, postpartum depression after the miscarriage. I checked myself into treatment." "Nathan, tell her the truth." Nathan wouldn't meet my eyes. "Lily, you need to leave. You're violating the restraining order." "What restraining order?" "I never got served with any restraining order." I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped it. "I'm calling my lawyer right now." "This is insane." Nathan's jaw tightened. "The restraining order was filed 6 weeks ago. You were served at the hospital. Check your patient file." Brooke was backing away from the door now, her phone in her hand. "I'm calling the police. Nathan said you might show up and try to hurt us." "Hurt you? I don't even know who you are." I looked past them into my house, my living room. Except it wasn't my living room anymore. The blue couch Nathan and I had picked out together was gone, replaced with a gray sectional. My grandmother's paintings were off the walls. Even the coffee table was different. "What did you do to our house?" Nathan stepped fully into the doorway now, making himself bigger, blocking me from entering. "It's not your house anymore, Lily. I filed for divorce 2 months ago on grounds of abandonment and mental incapacity. The judge granted it last week. This house is mine now and Brooke lives here. You need to leave before the police arrive." "Abandonment? I was in a psychiatric hospital. You visited me every week for the first month." But even as I said it, I remembered how his visits had suddenly stopped, how my calls went to voicemail, how the nurses said he'd called to say he couldn't come anymore because of work. I'd thought he was just overwhelmed, dealing with grief from the miscarriage on his own. Behind Nathan, Brooke was talking urgently into her phone, giving our address to what sounded like a 911 operator. "Yes, his ex-wife who has a history of violent behavior. She's at our door right now refusing to leave. We have a restraining order, but she's violating it." "I'm not violent," I screamed. "Nathan, tell her I'm not violent. Tell her the truth about what happened." Nathan's expression was cold, nothing like the man I'd been married to for 8 years. "You attacked me the night before you went to the hospital. You broke 3 of my ribs and gave me a concussion. That's why I had you committed involuntarily. The doctor said you were a danger to yourself and others." My vision started to blur at the edges. "That's not what happened. I never hurt you. I hurt myself. I was the one who was injured. I had the pills in my hand and you called 911. You saved my life." But doubt was creeping in now. The memories from that night were fuzzy, distorted by the medication they'd given me in the ER. I remembered crying, remembered Nathan's face covered in blood, remembered the ambulance. But the sequence of events was jumbled, fragmented. Had I hurt him? Could I have hurt him and not remembered? Nathan pulled up his shirt, showing a scar across his ribs that looked fresh, maybe 2 or 3 months old. "You did this with a kitchen knife. You don't remember because you had a psychotic break. The doctors confirmed it. That's why you were involuntarily committed for 90 days instead of voluntary treatment." Police sirens were getting closer. I could hear them coming up the street. "I want to see the restraining order. I want to see the divorce papers. I have a right to see them." Nathan disappeared inside for a moment and came back with a folder. He wouldn't hand it to me, just held it up so I could see through the glass storm door. Court documents with my name on them. A restraining order issued 6 weeks ago, served to me at Riverside Psychiatric Hospital according to the service record. A divorce decree finalized 1 week ago. My signature was on some of the documents, but I didn't remember signing anything. 2 police cars pulled up to the curb. 4 officers got out, hands near their weapons. "Ma'am, we need you to step away from the door," one of them called out. "Keep your hands where we can see them." I raised my hand slowly, the discharge papers still clutched in my right hand. "I just got released from the hospital. This is my house. My husband is lying about what happened." The officer approached carefully. "Ma'am, do you have identification?" I fumbled in my bag and pulled out my wallet, hands still shaking. My driver's license with this address on it, my insurance card, my hospital ID bracelet still on my wrist. The officer examined everything, then walked over to Nathan, who was still standing in the doorway with Brooke pressed against his back. They talked in low voices for several minutes. I saw Nathan hand over his own documents, point at the scar on his ribs, gesture at me with an expression of fear and concern that looked completely genuine. When the officer came back to me, his expression was sympathetic but firm. "Ma'am, according to the records, you were served with a restraining order 6 weeks ago, requiring you to stay at least 500 feet from this property and from Mr. Nathan Whitfield. The divorce was finalized last week. This is no longer your residence. But I don't remember being served. I don't remember signing divorce papers. Someone's lying to me. The officer glanced at his partner. The hospital records show you were experiencing significant memory issues and confusion during your stay. That's noted in the service record. You were legally served even if you don't recall it. He gestured toward his patrol car. I need you to come with us so we can sort this out at the station. If you resist, I'll have to arrest you for violating the restraining order. I looked back at Nathan and Brooke standing in my doorway. In my house, wearing my clothes, living my life. How long? I asked Nathan. How long were you planning this? Nathan's expression didn't change. I'm sorry, Lily. I did what I had to do. You weren't getting better. I couldn't wait forever. I was gone for 3 months. My voice broke. You couldn't wait 3 months? You were supposed to be gone for a year, Brooke said quietly. That's what the doctors told Nathan initially. A year minimum, possibly longer. You filed for divorce after the first 30 days when it was clear you weren't improving. The officer touched my elbow gently. Ma'am, we need to go now. I let him guide me to the patrol car, too numb to resist. As we pulled away from the curb, I watched Nathan and Brooke go back inside and close the door. Through the window, I could see them embrace, could see her head rest on his shoulder. They looked like any normal couple, relieved that a crisis had passed, like I was the problem that had been solved. At the station, they put me in an interview room and left me there for 40 minutes. When the door finally opened, a detective came in with another folder. She introduced herself as Detective Amy Walsh and sat down across from me with a tired expression. Mrs. Whitfield, I've reviewed the case file. I need to ask you some questions about the night of April 18th. April 18th, the night everything went wrong. I don't remember much, I admitted. It's all fuzzy. I remember being upset about losing the baby. I remember Nathan and I were arguing about something. Then I remember being in the ambulance. Detective Walsh opened the folder and pulled out photos. Crime scene photos of my kitchen. Blood on the floor, on the counter, splattered on the refrigerator. A knife in an evidence bag. Nathan's torn shirt. More photos of Nathan in the hospital. His bruised face, bandaged ribs, stitches across his forehead. Do these photos help you remember? Her voice was neutral, not accusatory, just asking. I stared at the images. The blood was real. Nathan's injuries were real. But something felt wrong about the whole scene, like pieces of a puzzle that had been forced together. The knife was in the sink, I said slowly. I remember the knife was in the sink because I'd been cutting vegetables for dinner. I was making stir-fry, Nathan's favorite. Detective Walsh made a note. The knife recovered from the scene had your fingerprints and Nathan's blood on it. There were also defensive wounds on Nathan's hands consistent with trying to grab the blade away from an attacker. I don't remember attacking him. I remember wanting to hurt myself. I'd been having thoughts about it for weeks. The postpartum depression got so bad after we lost the baby. I looked up at her. Can someone forget something like that? Attacking their husband? Walsh's expression softened slightly. Psychotic breaks can cause memory loss, especially when combined with trauma. The hospital records show you were found to be a danger to yourself and others, which is why you were involuntarily committed rather than voluntarily admitted. She pulled out another document. This is your initial psychiatric evaluation from the ER. It notes that you were saying Nathan had hurt you, that he'd pushed you during the argument. But the physical evidence and Nathan's testimony contradicted that. There were no injuries on you except self-inflicted wounds on your wrists. I touched my wrists automatically, feeling the raised scars under my sleeves. Those I remembered. Standing in the bathroom with Nathan's razor, the pain sharp and clarifying. But I didn't remember anything before that. What if Nathan's lying? I asked. What if he hurt me and then made it look like I attacked him? Detective Walsh didn't dismiss the question, which surprised me. Why would he do that? Because he wanted to leave me. Because he already had Brooke. Because if I'm declared mentally incompetent, he can divorce me, take the house, take everything, and I can't fight back. Saying it out loud made it sound paranoid, crazy. But Walsh was listening. Do you have any evidence that he was having an affair before April 18th? I thought back through the months before my hospitalization. Nathan working late more often. Taking phone calls in the other room. The smell of unfamiliar perfume on his jacket once that he'd explained away as a coworker's. Nothing concrete, just suspicions. The kind of things you notice but tell yourself you're being paranoid about. Walsh closed the folder. Here's the situation. The restraining order is legally valid. The divorce is legally valid. The house belongs to Nathan now per the divorce settlement. You signed the papers. I don't remember signing them. The hospital administrator witnessed your signature. There's video of the signing session. You were lucid and answered all the competency questions correctly. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video clip. There I was, 2 weeks ago apparently, sitting across from a lawyer in what looked like a conference room at the hospital. I was wearing the hospital's pajamas and my hair was greasy, unwashed. I watched myself sign page after page of documents. Watched myself nod when the lawyer asked if I understood what I was signing. The woman in the video looked like me, but I had no memory of that day. None. It was like watching a stranger with my face. I don't remember this, I whispered. Any of it. Walsh turned off the phone. Have you been taking your medications as prescribed? Yes, every day. The nurses watched me take them. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. There had been a few days where I'd felt foggy, disconnected. Days where hours seemed to disappear. I'd mentioned it to my doctor and she'd adjusted my dosages, said it was normal during treatment. The hospital pharmacy records show you were given medications that can cause short-term memory loss as a side effect, Walsh said carefully. It's possible you legitimately don't remember being served the restraining order or signing the divorce papers because of the medication. Relief and horror washed over me in equal measure. If it was the medication, then I wasn't losing my mind. But if it was the medication, then I'd signed away my entire life without being able to remember or consent to it in any meaningful way. What happens now? I asked. Walsh stood up. We can't charge you with violating the restraining order since this appears to be your first violation and you have a legitimate medical explanation for not remembering it. But you cannot go back to that house. You cannot contact Nathan or Brooke. If you do, you will be arrested. Where am I supposed to go? I have no money, no car, no place to live. The hospital should have set you up with transitional housing as part of your discharge plan, Walsh said. Did they give you any paperwork about that? I dug through my discharge folder with shaking hands. There was a single page about a women's shelter across town with visiting hours and intake procedures. That was it. No housing assistance, no financial support, nothing. This can't be right. I had a discharge planner. She said she'd set everything up. Walsh looked at the paper and frowned. Wait here. She left the room and I sat alone with the photos of my bloody kitchen spread across the table. 15 minutes later, Walsh came back with a woman in a business suit. This is Amanda Ford from County Social Services. There's been a problem with your discharge planning. Amanda sat down and opened her laptop, typing quickly. Mrs. Whitfield, I'm showing in our system that your discharge plan included transitional housing at Riverside Recovery Residence, a step-down facility for people transitioning out of psychiatric care. Room and board covered for 90 days. Job placement assistance continued therapy. But this morning, your housing assignment was canceled. Canceled by who? By your emergency contact, Nathan Whitfield. He called this morning and said you decided to stay with family instead and didn't need the housing. The room tilted slightly. I have no family. My parents are dead. I'm an only child. Nathan knows that. Amanda's expression hardened. Then someone deliberately sabotaged your discharge planning. Let me make some calls. She left the room with her laptop and Detective Walsh sat back down across from me. If what you're saying is true about Nathan wanting to get rid of you, this would fit the pattern. Make sure you have nowhere to go, no resources, no support system. Then when you show up at the house because you literally have nowhere else to go, he can have you arrested for violating the restraining order. Why would he do this? My voice came out small, broken. We loved each other. We were trying for a baby for 3 years. He was devastated when I miscarried. Walsh pulled out her phone and showed me something else. A social media profile for Brooke Cunningham. Her relationship status had changed to married 2 months ago. But there were photos going back over a year showing her and Nathan together. At restaurants. At the beach. His arm around her shoulders. This is from 14 months ago, Walsh said, showing me a photo of Nathan and Brooke at what looked like a company party. If they've been together that long, your pregnancy might have been inconvenient. The implication settled in my stomach like a stone. You think he wanted me to lose the baby? I think it's worth investigating what happened the night of April 18th with fresh eyes. Walsh pulled out her notebook. Walk me through everything you remember about the days leading up to that night. I closed my eyes and tried to pull up memories through the fog. I'd been feeling sick for about a week. Dizzy, nauseous, more tired than usual. I thought it was just grief from the miscarriage. But Nathan kept making me tea before bed. Said it would help me sleep. Walsh was writing quickly now. What kind of tea? I don't know. Some herbal blend he bought from a natural food store. It tasted strange, but he said it was supposed to taste like that. My eyes snapped open. You think he was drugging me? I think it's a possibility worth exploring. Do you still have the tea? I don't have anything. I went to the hospital with nothing but the clothes I was wearing. Everything I owned is in that house with Nathan. Walsh made another note. We'll need to get a warrant to search the property for the tea and any other potential evidence. But that will take time. In the meantime, you need somewhere safe to stay. Amanda came back into the room looking angry. I got you reinstated at Riverside Recovery Residence. Someone is going to answer for this discharge planning nightmare. But for now, you have a bed. I'll drive you over there myself. As we left the police station, I saw Nathan's car parked across the street. He was sitting in the driver's seat watching the entrance. When he saw me, he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A cold, triumphant smile. He started his car and drove away slowly. And I realized with absolute clarity that Detective Walsh was right. This had all been planned. Every step of it. At Riverside Recovery Residence, Amanda helped me through intake and got me settled in a small room with a twin bed and a shared bathroom. I'm filing a formal complaint about your discharge planning, she said. Someone at the hospital violated protocol. But more importantly, I'm flagging your case for our legal aid program. You need a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. Legal aid is free for people in your situation. Someone will contact you within 48 hours. She handed me her business card. Call me if you need anything. And document everything. Every memory, every detail, anything suspicious. It might be important. After she left, I sat on the thin mattress and tried to organize my thoughts. My phone was dead, the battery drained. I asked at the front desk if they had a charger I could borrow. The overnight counselor found one and I plugged in my phone, watching it slowly power back to life. When it finally turned on, I had 63 missed calls. Most from unknown numbers, but 12 from my best friend Vanessa. I hadn't spoken to Vanessa since before the hospital. Nathan said she'd stopped coming to visit because seeing me that way was too hard for her. I called her number with shaking hands. She answered on the first ring. Oh my God, Lily. Where are you? Are you okay? Vanessa? My voice broke. I'm at a recovery residence. I got out of the hospital today and everything's wrong. Nathan married someone else and I don't remember anything and... Lily, stop. Listen to me. Vanessa's voice was urgent. I've been trying to reach you for 2 months. Nathan told me you didn't want any visitors, that you'd asked him to keep everyone away. But I didn't believe him. I went to the hospital anyway and they said you'd specifically banned me from your visitor list. I never banned you. I wanted to see you so badly. I know that now. Lily, I hired a private investigator. Nathan's been having an affair with Brooke for 18 months, since before you got pregnant. I have photos, receipts, everything. I tried to bring them to the hospital, but they wouldn't let me see you. My head was spinning. Nathan said you stopped visiting because it was too hard. He's been controlling your access to everyone. I talked to your coworkers, your other friends. He told everyone different stories about why they couldn't see you. Some people he said you were too unstable for visitors. Others he said you were being transferred to a different facility. He isolated you completely. Why would he do that? Because he needed time. Time to file for divorce, move Brooke in, liquidate your joint assets. Lily, he emptied your savings account. $47,000. It's gone. The number hit me like a slap. That was my inheritance from my grandmother. He can't touch that. It was in my name only. He had power of attorney. Did you sign power of attorney papers? I thought back to that video Walsh had shown me, signing page after page of documents. Maybe. I don't know. I signed something at the hospital, but I don't remember what. Vanessa made a frustrated sound. He probably buried it in the divorce paperwork. Lily, you need to fight this. The private investigator I hired, his name is Thomas Reeves. He's expensive, but he's good, and I'll pay for it. He can help prove Nathan's been planning this whole thing. The police are investigating. A detective named Walsh. She thinks Nathan might have been drugging me. Drugging you? Vanessa's voice shot up. Oh my god, that makes so much sense. Lily, you were acting so strange the last few months before you went to the hospital. You kept forgetting conversations we'd had. You seemed confused all the time. I thought it was depression, but what if it was drugs? My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I need to remember what happened that night, April 18th. I need to know if I really attacked Nathan or if he's lying. The Lily I know would never attack anyone. Even when you were at your worst, you only ever hurt yourself. You're not violent. She paused. Do you remember what you told me about Nathan? 2 days before you went to the hospital? I don't remember talking to you 2 days before. You called me crying. You said Nathan had been acting strange, distant. You said you'd found a receipt in his jacket for a jewelry store. An engagement ring. But you were already married, so why would he be buying an engagement ring? The memory surfaced slowly, like something swimming up through murky water. The receipt. Platinum band, diamond solitaire, $8,000. I'd found it in Nathan's jacket pocket when I was doing laundry. When I asked him about it, he said it was for a coworker's wife. He was just helping the guy pick it out. But the receipt had Nathan's name on it. Nathan's credit card. I remember, I whispered. He said it was nothing. He made me feel crazy for questioning him. He's been gaslighting you for months, maybe longer, making you doubt your own perceptions, your own memories. Then when you had the breakdown after the miscarriage, he had the perfect opportunity to take it further. Get you committed, isolate you completely, rewrite the narrative of what happened. Vanessa, what if I really did attack him? What if I don't remember because it was so terrible? Then we'll deal with that. But Lily, I know you. And I know that man has been lying about everything else. Why would he suddenly start telling the truth about that night? We talked for another hour while Vanessa filled me in on everything I'd missed. She'd kept all the documentation from her investigation. Bank records showing Nathan moving money around, photos of him and Brooke together at places he'd told me he was working late, credit card receipts for expensive dinners and hotels while I was in the hospital thinking he was too busy to visit. Tomorrow morning, I'm bringing Thomas Reeves to meet you, Vanessa said. And I'm bringing you clothes, toiletries, everything you need. We're going to fight this. After we hung up, I lay on the narrow bed and stared at the ceiling. The counselor had given me a packet of information about the residence. Rules, expectations, resources. There was a list of phone numbers for emergency services, legal aid, job placement. I picked up the legal aid number and dialed even though it was after hours. The voicemail said someone would return my call within 2 business days. 2 days. Nathan had planned this for months, and I had 2 days to start building a defense. I pulled out the discharge papers and read through them carefully. There was a copy of my medical summary, diagnosis of postpartum psychosis with depressive features, treated with antipsychotic medications and mood stabilizers. Prognosis good with continued treatment. Nothing about being a danger to others. Nothing about attacking anyone. I found that strange. If I'd really attacked Nathan badly enough to break his ribs and give him a concussion, wouldn't that be in my medical records? I called Detective Walsh's number. It went to voicemail, and I left a message asking about that discrepancy. Then I opened my phone's photo gallery. Most of my photos from the last year had been deleted, but a few remained. Photos from before everything went wrong. Nathan and me at the beach last summer, his arm around my shoulders, my hand on my small baby bump, taken 2 weeks before the miscarriage. Nathan's face in that photo. I studied it closely. He didn't look happy. He looked strained, false, like he was forcing himself to smile for the camera. I zoomed in on the background of the photo. We were at a restaurant, and in the reflection of the window behind us, I could just barely make out another person at a different table. Blonde hair, raising a glass toward the camera, toward Nathan. Brooke had been there. She'd been watching us. I screenshot the photo and made a note to show it to the private investigator. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You need to stop. This isn't going to end well for you. Just accept the divorce and move on. I stared at the message. Nathan's number was blocked per the restraining order, but this had to be him, or Brooke. I screenshot the message and texted back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared, showing someone was typing. Then they disappeared. No response came. The next morning, Vanessa arrived with 2 suitcases of clothes and Thomas Reeves, the private investigator. Reeves was in his 50s, professional, with the careful way of speaking that suggested he'd testified in court many times. Mrs. Whitfield, I've been investigating your husband for 6 weeks at Ms. Vanessa's request. I have extensive documentation of his relationship with Brooke Cunningham and concerning patterns in your joint finances, but I need to hear your version of events, particularly the night of April 18th. I walked him through everything I remembered, which wasn't much. The fuzzy memories, the gaps, the confusion. I told him about the tea Nathan had been giving me, about finding the receipt for an engagement ring, about the blood in the kitchen that I couldn't explain. Reeves took notes methodically. The hospital should have toxicology reports from your admission. Did anyone mention what was in your system? Just the medications I was prescribed for depression. Standard antidepressants. I'll get copies of the full toxicology report. If Nathan was drugging you, there might be evidence. He pulled out his tablet and showed me his documentation. Photos of Nathan and Brooke dating back 2 years, not 18 months. They'd been together before Nathan and I even started trying for a baby. Your husband has another bank account you don't know about, Reeves said. Opened 3 years ago. He's been moving money into it gradually. Small amounts, $200 or $300 at a time. Nothing that would trigger automatic alerts. The account currently has $93,000 in it. I felt sick. That's not possible. Our finances were joint. I would have seen withdrawals that large. They came from your paychecks. He had access to your direct deposit and was diverting a portion before it hit your joint account. You never saw the full amounts. Reeves showed me the bank statements. Months and months of small diversions. My entire salary being skimmed. He's been planning to leave for years, I said slowly. The pregnancy was an inconvenience, Reeves finished. Based on the timeline, I believe he may have deliberately caused the miscarriage. The room seemed to tilt. How? I'm still investigating that. But you said you were feeling sick for about a week before the miscarriage. Dizzy? Nauseous? That could be consistent with certain types of poisoning. Herbal supplements? Over-the-counter medications taken in the wrong doses. Things that would be hard to trace. He was giving me prenatal vitamins. He bought them special from a natural food store. Said they were better than the regular ones. Reeves and Vanessa exchanged looks. Do you remember which store? Reeves asked. The Greenleaf Market on Maple Street. He had a whole bag of supplements from there. Prenatal vitamins, vitamin D, fish oil, and that tea. I'll check their sales records. If he bought something else besides what he told you, that might be relevant. Reeves made more notes. Here's what I think happened. Nathan has been planning to leave you for at least 2 years. He met Brooke and decided she was a better option. Younger, no baggage, probably more money based on her job as a pharmaceutical rep. But divorcing you normally would mean splitting assets, possibly paying alimony. So he started methodically stealing from you while setting up a scenario where you'd look unstable. The supplements, I said. He was poisoning me gradually, making me sick, making me forgetful and confused. Then when you got pregnant, that became a complication. A baby would tie him to you for at least 18 years. So he escalated, made you sick enough to miscarry. Then waited for me to be at my lowest point emotionally, I continued, the pieces falling into place. When I was devastated about losing the baby and too depressed to fight back, that's when he staged the attack. Reeves nodded. The injuries were real, but I don't think you caused them. I think Nathan hurt himself or had Brooke hurt him, then called 911 and blamed you. You were so heavily drugged from whatever he'd been giving you that you couldn't remember clearly. Couldn't defend yourself. Perfect victim. Can we prove any of this? I asked. That's what I'm working on. I've already got evidence of the affair and the financial fraud. Detective Walsh is pursuing the criminal angle. If we can get that tea analyzed, if we can find purchase records showing he bought something dangerous, if we can get testimony from hospital staff about your actual behavior versus what Nathan claimed. He trailed off. It's going to be a fight, but it's not impossible. Vanessa squeezed my hand. We're going to prove he set you up. We're going to get your life back. Over the next 2 weeks, everything moved quickly. Detective Walsh got a warrant to search Nathan's house. They found the canister of tea in the back of a cabinet, half empty. Lab analysis showed it contained not just herbal tea, but significant amounts of diphenhydramine, Benadryl, and doxylamine, another antihistamine. Both can cause drowsiness, confusion, and memory problems in high doses. Combined with the prescription antidepressants I was taking, they would have seriously impaired my cognitive function. They also found the supplements Nathan had been giving me. The prenatal vitamins were real, but the vitamin D capsules had been opened and refilled with something else, a toxic mix of herbs known to cause miscarriage. He did it, I said to Detective Walsh when she showed me the lab reports. He poisoned me. He killed our baby. It's looking that way, Walsh agreed. We've arrested Nathan on charges of assault, fraud, and poisoning with intent to harm. His lawyer is claiming the tea was innocent, that he didn't know it had medications in it. But we found his browser history. He'd been researching medications that cause memory loss and how to induce miscarriage naturally for months. Brooke turned on Nathan almost immediately when she realized she might face charges as an accessory. She gave a full statement saying Nathan had told her about his plan to get rid of me. He'd promised her they could be together once I was taken care of. She claimed she thought he meant divorce, not poisoning and false imprisonment. She's lying, I said. She knew. She was there that night. I remember now. I remember hearing her voice in the house before everything went dark. My memories were slowly returning as the drugs worked their way out of my system. That night came back in fragments. Nathan making tea, insisting I drink it. Feeling dizzy, falling. Nathan's face above me saying, just go to sleep. Then Brooke's voice. Did you give her enough? She's still moving. Another voice. Nathan's. She'll be out in a minute. Help me set the scene. I gave my statement to Walsh, every detail I could remember. She recorded it all carefully. This is good. This establishes premeditation and shows Brooke was involved. Her immunity deal is off the table now. The divorce was annulled since it had been obtained through fraud and coercion. The house went back into my name. Nathan's hidden bank account was frozen and turned over to me as restitution. Every penny he'd stolen, plus damages. Vanessa helped me move back into the house 2 months after my release from the hospital. Everything Brooke had changed. We changed back. The gray sectional was sold and I bought a new blue couch. My grandmother's paintings went back on the walls. Room by room, I reclaimed my space. Nathan's trial is in 3 months. The prosecutor says the case is strong. The poisoning evidence, the financial fraud, Brooke's testimony about the plan, my recovering memories. He's facing 20 years minimum. Brooke took a plea deal, 5 years for accessory to assault and fraud. She'll be out before Nathan, but her career is destroyed and her reputation ruined. Some days I still feel the effects of what Nathan did. gaps in my memory that may never fully come back, anxiety and trust issues that my therapist says will take years to work through. But I'm alive, I'm free, and I'm fighting back. The lawsuit against Riverside Psychiatric Hospital for allowing Nathan to manipulate my discharge planning and isolate me from support settled for $200,000. The lawsuit against Nathan for poisoning, fraud, and emotional distress is still pending, but my lawyer says we'll likely win significant damages. I went back to my job. They'd held my position, told Nathan they were laying me off, but actually kept me on unpaid leave. My boss, Linda, had suspected something was wrong when Nathan called repeatedly insisting I'd quit, but my work computer showed I'd been logged in the day before my hospitalization working on a project. She'd refused to process my resignation and kept me on the books. I knew something wasn't right, Linda told me when I came back. You loved this job. You'd never just quit without notice, especially not in the middle of the Riverside account. And Nathan was too insistent, too pushy about it, made me suspicious. I cried in her office for 20 minutes while she ordered coffee and tissues. She'd advocated for me during my absence, kept my projects alive, even set aside my commission checks so Nathan couldn't touch them. $31,000 in commissions I didn't know existed. My coworkers threw me a welcome back party that felt surreal. Balloons, cake, genuine happiness to see me. For months, I'd believed I was completely alone, that everyone had abandoned me. But Nathan had systematically lied to everyone, created a web of deception so intricate that no one knew the truth. He told me you'd moved to Oregon to be closer to your sister, my coworker Diane said. Said you needed a fresh start after everything. I don't have a sister, I told her. I know that now. But he was so convincing. He even cried when he told me. That was Nathan's gift. He could lie with tears in his eyes and make people believe him. He'd used that gift to destroy my life, and he'd almost gotten away with it. 3 weeks after moving back into the house, I got a call from Riverside Psychiatric Hospital's risk management department. They wanted to settle the malpractice suit quietly, avoid publicity. Their offer had gone from $200,000 to $500,000. Your case exposed serious systemic failures in our patient advocacy and discharge planning, the hospital attorney said. We've implemented new protocols because of what happened to you. Multiple staff members were terminated for their role in allowing your husband to manipulate your care. I took the settlement. Not because the money made up for what happened, but because fighting it in court would mean reliving the trauma for months. I wanted to move forward. The house felt different now, empty in a way that had nothing to do with furniture or decoration. Nathan's presence was gone, but so was the life we'd built together. The ghost of who I'd been before, the woman who trusted easily, who believed in happy endings. She was gone too. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Kim, said it was normal to grieve the person I used to be. You experienced profound trauma and betrayal. You're not supposed to bounce back like nothing happened. You're supposed to be changed by it. I don't like who I am now, I admitted during one session. I'm suspicious of everything. I don't trust anyone. I walk through my own house checking locks 3 times before bed. That's hypervigilance, a trauma response. But it won't last forever. With work, you'll find a middle ground between the naive trust you had before and the complete distrust you feel now. Detective Walsh called 4 months after Nathan's arrest. We found something else. Nathan had a life insurance policy on you. $750,000. Taken out 2 years ago. My blood went cold. He was going to kill me. The poisoning might have been the first attempt. If you died from the supplements causing the miscarriage, it would have looked like pregnancy complications. When that didn't work, he had to pivot. Make you look unstable, get you committed. Then, Walsh trailed off. Then what? How was he planning to finish it? We found searches on his computer for suicide methods, how to fake a suicide, medication overdose, all from the weeks you were in the hospital. He was researching ways to make it look like you'd killed yourself. I felt sick. The restraining order, the isolation. He was setting it up so when I died, everyone would believe I'd done it to myself. A mentally ill woman who'd attacked her husband, lost everything in the divorce, couldn't cope. That's our theory. Brooke confirmed that Nathan talked about the life insurance policy, said once you were gone, they'd have almost $1 million to start their new life. The prosecutor added attempted murder to the charges. Nathan's lawyer tried to fight it, claimed it was all speculation. But the computer searches, the life insurance policy, Brooke's testimony, the pattern of poisoning, it all added up to a clear intent to kill. I testified at Nathan's trial 6 months after my release from the hospital. Walking into that courtroom and seeing him in an orange jumpsuit felt surreal. This was the man I'd promised to love forever. The man whose child I'd carried, however briefly. The man who'd held me when my mother died and promised he'd never leave me. That man had never existed. He'd been a mask Nathan wore, a character he played. The real Nathan was the cold-eyed stranger staring at me from the defense table with nothing but contempt. The prosecutor walked me through my testimony methodically. The supplements Nathan gave me, the tea, the gaps in my memory, the day I realized I was missing $47,000 from my account, the restraining order I didn't remember signing, coming home to find another woman wearing my clothes living in my house. Nathan's defense attorney tried to paint me as bitter and vindictive, a scorned woman making up stories. Isn't it true that you were institutionalized for attacking my client? I was hospitalized for suicidal ideation after being systematically poisoned, I corrected. The attack on your client never happened. He injured himself to frame me. You have no memory of that night. How can you be certain? Because the toxicology reports prove I was drugged. Because Nathan's computer search history shows premeditation. Because he had a life insurance policy on me and was researching ways to fake my suicide. I looked directly at Nathan. Because I know now that everything he told me was a lie. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the forewoman read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Assault, fraud, attempted murder, poisoning with intent to harm. Nathan showed no emotion as the judge sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for 15 years. By the time he got out, he'd be 62 years old. His life, like mine, was effectively over. Except mine wasn't over. I was still here. Still breathing, still fighting, still rebuilding. Brooke served 18 months of her 5-year sentence before being released on good behavior. I saw her once after her release, in a grocery store checkout line. She'd lost weight, looked older, wore no makeup. When she saw me, she went pale and left her cart right there, walking out without buying anything. I didn't feel satisfaction seeing her afraid of me. I just felt tired. A year after the trial, I sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain soaked into the walls. I bought a small condo across town, started fresh with new furniture and new paint colors that Nathan had never touched. Vanessa helped me move, along with Linda from work and a few other friends who'd stuck by me. We ordered pizza and drank wine and laughed, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something close to happy. You did it, Vanessa said, hugging me in my new empty living room. You survived. You fought back. You won. It doesn't feel like winning, I admitted. It feels like I lost years of my life, lost my ability to trust people, lost who I used to be. Maybe that person needed to be lost. Maybe you're becoming someone stronger. I thought about that a lot over the following months. Was I stronger? Or just more damaged? The nightmares came less frequently now, but they still came. I still checked locks obsessively, still felt panic when someone approached me unexpectedly. But I also laughed more, went out with friends more, started dating again, though I was careful, maybe too careful. I ran background checks on every man I went out with more than twice, checked their financial history, their social media, everything. That's not healthy, Dr. Kim said gently. You can't live in constant fear. But I was right to be afraid, I countered. Nathan was exactly what I should have been afraid of. If I'd done background checks on him before we got married, maybe I would have seen the red flags. Or maybe he hadn't shown those patterns yet. Some people change. Some people become dangerous over time. She leaned forward. You can't protect yourself from every possible betrayal. At some point, you have to decide to trust again. Not blindly, but thoughtfully. 2 years after the trial, I met someone. His name was Eric, a teacher at the high school where I'd started volunteering as a business mentor. He was patient with my paranoia, understanding about my trauma, never pushed when I needed space. I looked you up, he admitted on our 4th date. I read about what happened with your ex-husband. I just want you to know I understand why you're cautious, and I'll earn your trust however long it takes. That honesty meant everything. He didn't pretend my past didn't exist. He didn't tell me to just get over it. He acknowledged it and worked with it. We took things slowly. So slowly that Vanessa joked we were moving at glacial speed, but Eric never complained. When I had panic attacks about being vulnerable, he held me and waited them out. When I needed to check his phone to prove he wasn't lying about working late, he handed it over without hesitation. I have nothing to hide, he said simply, and I understand you need to verify that right now. That's okay. 3 years after Nathan's conviction, I testified at his parole hearing. He was asking for early release based on good behavior. I stood in front of the parole board and told them everything. Not just what he'd done to me, but what he'd tried to do. The murder plot, the life insurance policy, the systematic destruction of my life. This man is dangerous, I concluded. He's patient, calculating, and utterly without remorse. He planned my death for years. Given the opportunity, I believe he would try again, or find another victim. Please don't release him. The parole board denied Nathan's request. He'd be eligible again in 5 years. Walking out of that hearing, I felt something release inside me. I'd confronted him one last time, looked him in the eye, and refused to be silenced. Whatever power he'd had over me was gone. Eric was waiting in the parking lot. He didn't ask how it went, just pulled me into a hug and held me while I cried with relief. Let's go home, he said. Home. I had a home again. Not the house Nathan and I had shared, but a real home. A place that was safe, that was mine, that nobody could take from me. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Vanessa was my maid of honor. Linda from work officiated. I wore a simple blue dress instead of white. I wasn't interested in traditional symbolism anymore. Eric's vows made me cry. I promised to be honest, even when it's hard. I promised to show you, not just tell you that you can trust me. I promise to be patient with your healing, however long it takes. And I promise that I see you, not who you were before, and not just what was done to you, but who you are now. And I love who you are now. Standing there in front of people who'd supported me through the worst period of my life, holding hands with a man who'd proven his trustworthiness over and over, I realized I'd done more than survive. I'd rebuilt, not back to who I was before. That woman was gone, and that was okay. I'd rebuilt into someone new, someone harder in some ways, softer in others, someone who understood that trust was earned, not given, someone who knew her own strength because she'd been forced to use it. Nathan tried to destroy me. He poisoned me, stole from me, framed me, isolated me, and nearly killed me. He took years of my life and left scars that would never fully fade. But he didn't win. I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm still building a life. And that, in the end, is the greatest revenge. I survived him, and I found happiness anyway. Sometimes trauma doesn't have a clean resolution. Sometimes the nightmares don't fully stop. Sometimes you carry the weight of what happened for the rest of your life. But sometimes you also discover that you're strong enough to carry it, that you can build something beautiful even with shaking hands and a broken foundation. This is my life now. Not the one I planned, not the one I would have chosen, but mine. Real, honest, hard won, and nobody can take it from me again. If you made it through this whole story, Thank you for witnessing what happened to me. Sometimes that's all survivors need, someone to listen and believe us. Subscribe if you want more stories about resilience. Until next time, stay safe and trust your instincts. They might just save your life.